Morning, everybody, and aloha. Welcome to Just Talking 24, page 23. Today, we're going to talk about a subject that is dear to my heart. It used to be. I used to love it. In fact, I still do, but not as much. You get other pleasures nowadays. Uh, no, it's not that. Get our minds out of the gutter, gang. It's not that. It's this, which is your second guess. Yeah. I know food didn't even come in close, right, to that one. But no, it's not the dollar. Although the dollar, I will be talking about the dollar a little bit later. But it's money. You know, try and ask someone, what is money? No, really. What is it? I, I'll give you, I'll bet you that they won't be able to define it. Everyone knows what it is, but no one knows what it is. You see the big puzzle there. It's one of those again, you know. Yeah, there is no cold, only the absence of heat. But what is money really? And the the only the easiest definition I got, because you know me, I love to kiss. Okay, is that money is the most universally accepted unit of barter that there is in the world. If it's recognized and accepted as a unit of barter, what does that mean, right? Um, say you lived, okay, this is way back, before money was made, okay? And you worked on your little plot of land and you had, you raised vegetables, chickens, but beautiful vegetables. But it's been getting cold at night, and the wife needs a cover. She needs a blanket. And so she goes, go to the weaver's, the weaver's hut, and get us a blanket. And so you take your beautiful vegetables. Well, I got to give him something for it, and he won't take you. I tried already. No, but you know, you load up your vegetables, put them in back of your cart, and if you have a horse, good for you. If not, you hook it up to yourself, and you take your cart over there, and you walk how many miles you have to walk, and you get there, and you tell the weaver, "Hey, morning. My wife would really like a blanket, and I got some fresh vegetables here. Um, Want to swap?" And the weaver goes, "Gee, I got my own little plot of land in the back that we take care of, and I get my own vegetables. But I really could go for some meat because we don't have meat." And the farmer goes, "Okay." So you hook up the wagon, and you trudge those miles over to the cattleman, and you tell him, "Hey, good morning, good morning. I like to trade you these vegetables for for some meat, fresh meat." And the cattleman goes, "Well, we have a lot of property, so we have our own vegetables. But you know what I'd really like? I'd really like some fish." And so the farmer, "Okay, fine," hooks up again, travels down. This time, I mean, it's late in the day already. I mean, we don't, we're not talking, jump in the truck. We're talking he went, you know, he actually went a distance. So you finally go down to the seashore, and you tell the fisherman, "Hey, I got some vegetables here. Would you like to trade for some fish?" And the fisherman goes, "Oh yeah, I could use some vegetables because we don't have vegetables on the seashore." And so trade fish, and you guys barter and haggle and whatever, and you barter. Barter is trade, just to trade, exchange. So you take your fish, trudge back up. Now, okay, so you went down to the ocean. Now you gotta go up. Okay, it's all uphill, and you're tired because you were walking all day. And you go to the farmer, tell him I got some fish for you. And the farmer goes, oh, good. So he'll trade you the fish, and he gives you meat. And then you take the meat and you go over to the weavers. You tell the weaver, hey, I got you some meat. And the weaver goes, oh, great. So, you barter and everything. And so now you go back home. And by now it's late. It's dark, you know. And there were no flashlights in those days. So your wife has your her blanket. You've got some extra meat because you're not going to barter it all away because you can use some for yourself. So you guys have some meat for your soup, and you've wasted a whole day. Okay. Well, that had to stop. So how do you solve that? Well, you come up with money, or you come up with something of value that everybody wants and recognizes and is willing to exchange for. For commerce was great. They used to use spices before, salt, something as simple as salt, pepper. You know, Marco Polo went all the way to the Far East, for spices. Christopher Columbus, what was he looking for? A shorter route to India for the spices. That's where they got a lot of their spices from, from India. And that was pardon the expression, the coin of the realm at that time was spices. A man's weight in salt. You, I read stories of kingdoms that they paid their soldiers in salt, and they were perfectly happy because they could hunt their own meat, and the vegetables were readily available. They grew their own vegetables, and now they had something to season the vegetables with instead of using. There are natural sources of salt. Don't get me wrong. Celery is one of the things. Celery is 95% water, and I think a percent of salt. I mean, it has salt. That's where we get celery salt from. They take a whole bunch of celery and they crush it down to juice, and then they evaporate the water, and that stuff you left is called celery salt. And sometimes they mix it with salt. But yeah, so money became the unit of barter. And but money is also the unit of everything. More people in the history of man have been killed for money. And money is the root of it. You follow the money. Follow the money. And I tell people, when they ask me, oh, why did like when I worked at the hospital, I was on the negotiating committee, oh, why did they do that? I go, you follow the money. This hospital it's not about patient care. It's about money. Okay? And when you put money in the front, believe me, you will die by the money. If you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You ever heard that? Same thing. If money is worse than a sword. Really. Because the sword gives you the power. And you realize it. Without the sword, you're nothing. Right? Well, the people think nowadays, without money, there's still something because there's credit. And there's, scamming, and there's, all other ways. A sword is a sword. You either got it or you don't. I mean, and you don't bring a sword, believe me, and I promise you, don't bring a knife or a sword to a gunfight. You're going to lose. But money, you bring money to anything, you win. The only thing is, you got to make sure that you got your sword to protect yourself. Because those that want the money also have their own swords. See, it's just the root of all evil. And Well, look at the US dollar. At one time, our dollar had to be backed up by an amount of gold. And, and it was called the gold standard. The gold standard. And because of that, um, the United States government affixed the value of gold. And I believe it was like $38 a troy ounce. And it was like that for years and years. But see, if you stabilize what gold is worth and you back up your money with the gold, you know how strong that money is? Anybody, anybody would take it. And America had a lot of gold. You know, we had gold mines, we had silver mines, we had a lot of precious metal. They call it precious metal because it's actually recognized by the world as something that is worth so much. And the world market sets gold now, not just the U.S. It's the world because the U.S. FDR, he stopped it. He stopped backing up the money with gold. Now he did it for two reasons. And the first one is really bad. He needed more money, and we just didn't have the gold. So he used the credit of the country to back up the money. And excuse me, it worked. People still accepted the dollar as the strength that it had. In fact, they couldn't pit their money against the dollar. In other words, the people that use, say, Mexico, the pesos, okay? Peso, fine, worked in their country, worked in Mexico. But try take a Mexican pesos to, say, Spain or to Europe and try use it there. They're going to look at it and say, hey, no, we don't take this, man. Nobody takes this money. But take the US dollar, recognized around the world. Oh, yeah, we'll take it. In fact, the dollar was so strong that a lot of countries used the dollar as their coin of realm. And I didn't know this. I just learned it recently that when a country did that, it had to pay the U.S. a certain percentage. I mean, it wasn't a high percentage, but it had to pay the U.S. to use their dollar. And then the U.S. would say, yeah, okay, we'll back up it. We'll back it up. No problem. You can use it. And if not, then, I guess, I mean, doesn't that sound like protection? But I don't understand these kind of things. I understand why they do it. But if you follow, not really closely, but every so often I'll get a story that comes up, and you don't know how true it is. But if it keeps coming up, then you know it's kind of true. But by that time, it's too late. It's already happening. But what's happening is that these countries nowadays, um, they're going away from using the U.S. dollar as their coin of realm, and their economy is so strong that they can actually use their money, and their money is accepted, by other countries in international trading. And then they're going over to the euro, the European dollar in Europe. They're using that more than the US dollar. Very subtle, but yet worth taking account. Now, the British pound has always been the British pound. It is used within the Commonwealth of Nations, Canada, Australia. Um, Even England still uses the pound, even though they're independent of Britain. They still accept the pound. Um, a lot of places will accept the pound, but not as many places as the U.S. dollar. U.S. dollar, but like I said, it's slipping. It's slowly losing its grip. The euro's taking over. But the euro cannot be. You would think the euro would be so strong. I mean, makes sense. You get all the the combined economic power of Europe, okay, backing up that dollar, the euro dollar. In theory, it would work out, but in application, it doesn't. Why? Because the the countries are not united. Their funds are not united. Their economic strategies, their government, everything is not united. You get all these pieces trying to stay together and use a dollar. If they were ever to become one European nation, Europe, the nation of Europe, then we would be in trouble. But I mean, that that's never going to happen. Every country, look at Israel, right? You get Israelis and Hamas, and they've been doing it for thousands of years, so it's not going to happen. But the euro will still, it may not take over, but it will take a stand. I mean, it will take a grip. It'll be a place, and it's affecting the U.S. dollar. And it's not the U.S. dollar is being affected by the euro. It's weakened so much that it can be. You see, like I said, we just sat on our laurels, just fat and sassy. We number one. We don't gotta try. And look what happens. Everything deteriorates. Everything breaks down. Everything that man makes breaks down, falls apart. That's why today scientists are uncovering, places of dwelling, cities that were buried. It just fell apart. Man just fell apart. There's a I was watching National Geographic, and they found a whole village underwater. Now, this happened thousands of years ago, and men weren't running around in cars and internal combustion engines and everything. So, what caused the climate warming? Them, but they're using that to make a lot of money. Coronavirus, classic example of money and what money can do. Remember when they first started? The hospitals, okay? They were full. They say you couldn't get into the ER, had so many patients. And they kept these patients for a long time until they were completely cleared. Why? Because the coronavirus was so bad. And it was, I mean, if it were true, and this disease had the three pathways of transmission, like they said, this sucker was as bad as Ebola, and it was loose on the world. But it wasn't. It was just all a facade. One thing I learned when in my humble experience with healthcare is that a virus will not get weaker. It doesn't get strong. It gets more prevalent, and then it gets less prevalent. It runs in cycles, right? A virus or a bacteria stays. Bacteria, but this thing called a virus, which is science's way of saying an unknown antigen or unknown path, an unknown bug. They call it a virus. They can't find it. They can't see it. The HIV, the virus they say that causes HIV. They know the thing exists, but they've never had a picture of it. They've never seen it. Dr. Gallo says he did, but he had that one picture, but it was never found again. Yet HIV is still here. We see it, and it's a condition. It's transferable. It's contagious. You can pass it on from person to person. So anything like that, they automatically say it's a virus. Okay? Virus means an unknown thing. people say, no, you can actually say, I have yet to see one. I've heard a lot of stories about it, but I haven't seen it. So the coronavirus had big bucks behind it. Big bucks. People lost their jobs because of it. Remember Biden's mandate? Yeah? You have to get the vaccine. You have to get the vaccine. But then people got the vaccine and they still got sick. Well, in the beginning, what would they call these? Oh, these are breakthroughs. You have to get the booster. And then 3 months, every 3 months, you got to get the booster. Do we have to get the booster anymore? No. What? The virus suddenly went away? And then they found out that whatever it is was made by this um, laboratory in Wuhan, where it started. Even they don't know what they got. Really. Moderna, they worked in Moderna, Pfizer worked in collusion with this factory. So they come out with 17 different vaccines. And all this stuff, I mean, it's been told so many times, but really listen to it. Really understand. They came up with 17 patents for a vaccine for the coronavirus. Yet, treatment, only one. And that pharmaceutical is used to deworm horses. Go figure. It didn't make sense. The whole science of this whole disease didn't make sense. Why they did it? This is what backed it up. Control. Why they did it, who knows? There are so many theories you can come out of it. And everybody says, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. It is. Because one man could not think about this. You had to conspire with others for this. Something that bad. Remember I told you, my doctor told me that if I don't get the shot, 100% guarantee I don't get it. My wife, she had surgery, okay? She's fine. She never caught COVID. She has to go to, and it was recommended that she go to a nursing home where she could, recuperate and get physical therapy, to get her back up to snot. And so I said, okay, fine, sounds good. And I trusted the healthcare center. It's supposed to be Trauma One, the only one in the Pacific, the best we have. She goes in there. What happens? She catches the coronavirus. She has the coronavirus. She gets sent to the hospital. Ends up, it's pneumonia. Yeah, it wasn't a coronavirus. She had the pneumonia, but she tested positive for coronavirus, which the whole test, by the way, is another scam. But let's not go there. So she tested positive. And after a few days, the pneumonia was, under control. They gave her the antibiotics, and the antibiotics killed. She's still testing positive for coronavirus. But of course, because the coronavirus only tests for dead cells. You get a bad flu, you test positive for coronavirus. Believe me. Yeah. You take that test enough times, you'll come out positive. And that's what they do. They test and they test and they test until you come out positive. And then boom, she's positive. But to be negative, you got to take, tests after. But now they don't have to. So she was in the hospital and they treated her for the pneumonia. And they were giving her tests for the coronavirus and she still tested positive. Oh, but she's medically clear to leave. I said, wait a minute. You just said she's positive for coronavirus. And she's free to leave? Oh, yeah. I said, since when? I thought that if they test positive, she has to remain ISO. Oh, no. After 21 days, she's cleared. You see what I mean? It doesn't make sense. And when you follow the reason, dinero, the money. Money's not there anymore. They weren't, the hospital's not getting reimbursed like they were for, you know, if you had debts. I read a story of a 16-year-old running into a tree and dying of coronavirus. You know, yeah, go figure. Why? Because they were getting paid. I don't know where this money was coming from, but they were getting paid to put down in their stats coronavirus, coronavirus. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a conspiracy. You're right. You're 100% right. It is a conspiracy. Why? I don't know. But I can have it. You follow the money, you come to power. That's what it is. But that's money. And the unfortunate thing is, that's what's going to kill America. I mean, I know Donald Trump is really trying, and his intent is so good, and he is trying his best. And like I said, unless we get behind him, it's not going to work, and we're not going to get behind him, right? Because number one, we forgot how to fight, and a lot of people will not fight until they're backed into a corner. But by then, they're backed in by a force so great that they can't, even if they wanted to. And that's what's going to happen. And the final blow, I believe, I truly believe, and this is down for the record, will be money. The American dollar, the bottom will just fall out of it. It'll devalue itself. Once it devalues itself, if you don't have money, you don't got power. You can have, I mean, if you can have the best weapons in the world, but you can still need man to man them, to operate them. And if you don't pay your soldiers, you think they're gonna be loyal to you? Hell no. Come on, you gotta be smoking crack. They won't. That's just the reality of it. And once America loses its military might, it loses everything. Because the population gonna be in shambles anyway, because everybody's gonna be broke. It's gonna be hyperinflation. I've read about it. I've seen it. That's Venezuela. Hyperinflation. And you watch a country that just went down the tubes. And it's funny, yeah, Venezuela, I mean, that's when the MS-13, they moved out of there because their country economically got so bad, so they went to America. Yeah. Money is better than bullshit at attracting, vermin and flies. Like they say, you can catch more flies with honey than you can with sugar. More flies with sugar than you can with vinegar. And I go, that's true, but you can catch more with bullshit. And they look at me and they go, okay. And it's true. But anyway, that's my take on money. Really simple. Unit of barter. And on inception, I mean, it simplifies a lot of things. It speeds it up. It makes it more efficient. And now they got Bitcoin. That's virtual money. Yeah, I'm really gonna trust you. But I don't subscribe to Bitcoin. I don't believe in it because it's like astrophysics, all theoretical, right? Yeah. But hope you I hope I taught you a little bit. I hope I entertained you. And I just want to say, please please subscribe, tell your friends. I need ideas, folks. I really do. I need ideas. I'm running out of ideas. Well, not running out. I just don't want to get into the things that I got to get into, but I will. I don't really want to go super political, but I am. You know that. That everything I do is, has a political overhang. But I don't want to be one of those that is seeing, telling you what Trump is doing or what color BVDs he's wearing, stuff like that. No, that's not that wasn't my purpose for this broadcast, this page. But anyway, it's been fun. And I just want to say from me to you, as usual, Ahuiho malamapono. I don't know why I was fixating on that up there. There's a spot up there that I could. I don't know. Just zoning, I guess. Like I said, it's all residuals from high school drug use. But once again, ahuiho malamapono and aloha. Love you. Have a great week. Don't work too hard, but make the money. Make the money. Bye bye.